former NFL quarterback Chris Sims just spoke out about what he's seen thus far from Shedeur Sanders. He also gave us his opinion as far as who will win the QB battle between Deshaun and Shedeur Sanders. NFL free agent Stefon Diggs just sent a message to all NFL teams. We're going to talk about what he said and why it applies pressure to Jerry Jeudy.
My people know it's mad dog.
So once again, as I said before, former NFL quarterback Chris Sims just spoke out as far as what he's seen thus far from Shedeur Sanders. He also spoke about who he think will win the QB battle between Deshaun and Shedeur. I'm going to play both video clips so you guys can hear exactly what he had to say. Then I'll give you guys my thoughts as we continue this video.
Chris Sims, same guy we heard from on the offense and the competition. What do you think Shedeur Sanders needs to work on going into his second season?
The tools are there for Shedeur. Now, can he really take quarterback coaching from a quarterback kind of genius guy and Todd Monken? The offense is going to have a lot to deliver. Can he clean up his throwing mechanics to be a little bit more consistent there? Can he know where to get the ball out of his hands when things collapse and not take bad sacks, right? That's the big thing going forward with Shedeur Sanders. Todd Monken there.
More likely than not, we see both him and Shedeur play this year.
I would think so. I mean, that would, if you made me bet, I would bet on that. But I do think that Deshaun Watson will be the starter to start. I will. I think he wins the quarterback competition. He's the guy, and then we'll see what he can do from there.
I definitely think that's probably the thought process I think that most have. I think is when we're speaking of Watson, it's been so long, and let's be honest, for anybody, in Cleveland, we've never seen it. We never saw anything close to a $232 million quarterback playing for this franchise. So it's really hard to believe that after all this time, that guy is going to maybe, come back. The other thing is, with Deshaun, the injury risk, in my opinion, is real. You know what I'm saying? I really, really have questions about that. Obviously, whether it was the broken shoulder, obviously,
Todd Monken.
More likely than not, we see both him and Shedeur play this year.
I would think so. I mean, that would, if you made me bet, I would bet on that. But I do think that Deshaun Watson will be the starter to start. I will. I think he wins the quarterback competition. He's the guy, and then we'll see what he can do from there.
I definitely think that's probably the thought process I think that most have. I think is when we're speaking of Watson, it's been so long, and let's be honest, for anybody, in Cleveland, we've never seen it. We never saw anything close to a $232 million quarterback playing for this franchise.
Two quarterbacks, one job, and a decision that could define the future of an entire franchise. One of them is owed $230 million. The other one is owed nothing, except a chance. By the time training camp ends, only one of them will still be standing under center. And right now, insiders inside the building are saying something Browns fans never expected to hear.
Most cases, I think people would hope 18, 19, 20, of course. Then there's questions, Mary Kay Cabot brought it up, I think, about, the shoulder and, is he going to be even able to go and compete in camp every single day? And, I think those are a lot of large questions. And I think it just really, it comes down to, I think everybody believes that, second year guy, Shedeur Sanders, healthy enough, certainly. And, the one thing he never really was injured really during his time. And the other thing is, at least you saw him a little bit.
For years, this was supposed to be simple. Deshaun Watson was the man, the trade, the extension, the plan the entire franchise bet everything on. But bets don't always pay off. And in Cleveland, this one has turned into one of the most uncomfortable situations in modern NFL history. Because the man who was supposed to be the face of the franchise has barely been able to stay on the field. A shoulder injury that lingers, an Achilles that's been torn not once, but twice. A body that keeps breaking down right as the moment to prove himself arrives. And now, as training camp approaches, the questions aren't about his ceiling anymore. They're about whether he can even survive the grind of a full football season. Meanwhile, on a separate field, away from the noise, away from the contract numbers and the headlines, A rookie who was doubted by nearly every team in the league has been quietly rewriting his own story. Shedeur Sanders didn't get the fanfare, he didn't get the guaranteed money, he fell further in the draft than almost anyone expected. But he never stopped working. Footwork drills, over and over, mechanics refined rep after rep, the kind of preparation that doesn't trend online, but builds championships behind closed doors. And someone with real credibility finally noticed. A former NFL quarterback, a man who's broken down thousands of throwing motions and doesn't throw around compliments for free, studied Shedeur's game up close. His verdict shook Browns fans everywhere. He said the physical tools are undeniable. He said if Shedeur can clean up his mechanics and learn to get rid of the football before pressure collapses the pocket, the ceiling is enormous. That's not a courtesy comment. That's the blueprint for a franchise quarterback. But then came the question everyone in Cleveland has been avoiding. Who actually wins the job? And even then, even respecting Watson's talent, the same analyst hesitated to hand him the keys with full confidence, because the truth is impossible to ignore anymore. Watson hasn't taken meaningful NFL snaps in years. Every offseason brings a new question about his health, not his talent. Shedeur, on the other hand, played every single snap last season. Full contact, full grind, no excuses, no missed games, no uncertainty about whether his body would hold up.
Now, and he has sent a message, and he have a very good point as far as teams' number 2 wide receivers.
Opportunities aside, people might say it might be like what, 7. That's like real ones, right? In my opinion, I can compete with anybody, but take those as your ones, right? Right. You can't name a number 2 better than me. There's not a number 2 on a team. Like, let's presumably give people the credit to just say, okay, you want to take the number 1 spot away.
One quarterback has spent years trying to prove he's healthy. The other has already proven he's available. And in a league built on availability, that difference matters more than any contract number ever will. Across Cleveland, across football media, across locker rooms far beyond Ohio, a quiet whisper is turning into something louder. Shedeur Sanders isn't just fighting for a backup role anymore. He might be fighting his way toward being the guy. But the quarterback battle wasn't the only storm brewing inside the Browns organization this offseason, because just as pressure built in that quarterback room, a voice from outside the building entered the conversation, and it wasn't quiet. Stefon Diggs, a receiver who has lived through controversy, weathered criticism, and rebuilt his career piece by piece, sent a message that landed directly on the desk of every general manager still uncertain about their receiver depth chart. His challenge was simple, blunt, almost impossible to argue with. Name a better number 2 receiver in the entire NFL, right now, anywhere. Silence followed, because there isn't one. Not with his route running, not with his football IQ, not with his ability to line up anywhere on the field and still dominate a secondary. And that challenge landed hardest on one player in particular, Jerry Jeudy. Because for all the speed, for all the raw talent Jeudy brought to Cleveland, one brutal number followed him through the entire season. 10. 10 dropped passes, tied for the most in the entire National Football League. 10 moments where a young quarterback trusted him with the football and watched it hit the turf instead. That's not just a statistic. That's trust, chipped away, one drop at a time.
Stefon Diggs provides so much to an offense, so much flexibility, speed, leadership, route running, everything that you want in a total packaged wide receiver, you get from Stefon Diggs. On top of that, he can run every route in every route tree from anywhere on the field. So not only can you use him at the X, you can use him at the Y, you can use him at the Z, you can use him at the H, you can use him all over because he has that IQ when it comes to football. So we should see. I highly doubt if the Browns.
Now, heading into camp, all eyes are on him. The footwork looks sharp. The speed was never the problem. But the one thing that will define his future in Cleveland is simple. Can he catch the football when it matters? Because if the answer isn't a clear yes, Stefon Diggs just reminded the entire league exactly what he offers. A proven, dangerous, ready-made #1 receiver sitting in free agency, waiting for a phone call. If that call ever comes, if Cleveland decides the risk of standing still outweighs the risk of change, Jerry Jeudy's grip on that WR1 role could vanish overnight. Now picture that offense fully formed, a more disciplined, more confident Shedeur Sanders under center, a receiver room suddenly reinforced by one of the most complete route runners in football. That's not a minor roster tweak, that's a warning shot to the entire AFC. So here's where the Cleveland Browns really stand as training camp opens. A former franchise quarterback still trying to prove his body can survive a season. A second-year passer quietly building the case that he's already the better option. A talented receiver with elite tools, but a trust problem he has to fix immediately. And a proven veteran outside the building, watching closely, sending a message the entire locker room can hear. Nothing here is settled. Not the starting quarterback, not the WR1 job, not the direction of this entire franchise. But one thing is becoming harder to deny with every single practice. The player nobody trusted a year ago might be the one holding this whole team together. Training camp is about to reveal exactly who this Cleveland team really is. So drop your prediction down in the comments right now. Shedeur or Watson? Jeudy or Diggs? Who wins the job this year? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you never miss the next big update on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns.